Thank you very much, Scott, and thank you all for coming here today. As we heard from Gary, a lot of times when we're doing philatelic research, it's very difficult to do it without actually living in Bellefonte. We actually have to come out to the library today, and that's because for a stamp collector, it can be really difficult to find resources while doing research. Information you want could be buried deep in a specialized catalog, lodged in a long-forgotten society newsletter somewhere, stashed away in a library somewhere across the world. But what if there was a way to make philatelic information easier to find? A way to find multiple sources in a single click, using a single keyword. Today, we'll explore the possibilities that online resources and online libraries could bring to the philatelic world, and in some cases already do. There are many online philatelic tools, especially like the ones that we've seen in Gary's presentation, that provide around-the-clock and accessible resources to researchers. And consolidating these resources into one central online and curated location, I think it could be advantageous to both philatelic researchers here at home and around the world. Now, I mentioned consolidating online philatelic tools into one location, but what could that location possibly look like? I think the best avenue is an online library. Now, we already know the role that physical libraries play in our lives. They're collections of research, stored knowledge, multimedia resources. They're places we go to get help with our research projects and to interact with librarians and scholars who have large knowledge of the sources that we need. But a lot of the research process also falls on us. We're constantly searching for better and more accurate sources of information, and this can be difficult to find. For example, if I'm a collector in, say, rural Michigan, and I want to find an Airmail Society catalog from 1956, odds are I'm not going to find it at my local library. I'm going to have to reach out to the APRL, the National Postal Museum. And if they can't get it to me in a digital format or by the mail via interlibrary loan, then I'll have to pay up to $600 to $1,000 to come to Bellefonte for a few days and stay here and do research on my own. Now, while for some researchers this is definitely a possibility and there are grants available to researchers who want to do this, for many others it's not. There are many time and monetary barriers to doing philatelic research. So what could help bridge these collectors and their geographic gap between them and the libraries that serve them? I think we're back to the idea of an online library. But what exactly is an online library? Well, it's very similar to a physical library. It's a place to find information, find online resources, to view documents. But it's also a place where these resources are available 24/7. They're available anywhere in the world, anywhere with a internet connection. And they can be accessed with no need to physically search, travel, nor request documents. And libraries, including the APRL, have already been entering this digital world. They're posting their card catalogs online and in some cases making physical resources available for viewing. So let's take a look at some of the examples of these resources. The APS is already doing a really good job at branching into the digital world. They've got their online APS blog where you can get up-to-date information on current news happening in the society, current things happening at stamp shows across the world. And you also have the online American Philatelist, so that if you go on a vacation overseas or even just outside of your home, you can actually have access to your AP right in the palm of your hand, in your cell phone, in your tablet, on your computer, anywhere in the world. And this can be really advantageous because part of the online AP process is that you can actually search through all of the information in the AP via a keyword search. And most of you are already aware of this, where like if you're looking for, say, Confederate stamps, and you're looking for a certain article, you can actually search that via keyword in a specific article in the American Philatelist. Now, there's a lot of interactive media available online, and this is somewhere where I really like what the Postal Museum has done in the online world. If we take a look at some of the resources they have here, this is actually a way to branch out and sort of bring museums to people, and I think this has a lot of potential in the online world, because I remember as a young middle schooler in 8th grade, the Postal Museum had their How Mail Gets from Point A to B, Systems at Work video, and I would watch that on loop for hours. Seeing how mail gets from point A to B was such an interesting process to me. And I think these online resources like this exhibit that's available on the Postal Museum website right now is a really great way to bridge, to give people a visual idea of what they're looking at when they're looking at stamps of postal history, and even bring non-philatelists into the philatelic world. And what's great about these kinds of resources is that you can read them at your own pace, you can go through them, click through them, but then they're also not entirely just based on the stamps. You can also look at materials that are available around the world. For example, Lincoln had a lot of trips to the Illinois State House in Springfield, and here you can view it right here on the Postal Museum's exhibit. Now, this world is also becoming a lot more data-driven. A lot more people are looking to data to figure out how to better their business processes and how to better do research. And this has already been entering the philatelic world as well. One of the interesting sources that I found out about in Columbus is Perf48, which is an online resource for finding stamps online. And it's sort of like a Scott catalog in the way that it catalogs every single stamp in existence, but it allows you to search it without having to go to an index or without having to find a specialized catalog. Rather, you can just go here and filter your search. So let's say my favorite stamp is the Global Sea Surface Temperature stamp from 2014, which is a really new issue, but I really like it. And what I could do here is I could search for it based on the year. I could filter my search based on a keyword or based on all these other types of avenues, and that really helps cut down time in terms of research. There are other tools out there that allow you to search, business forms of philately, including H.R. Harmer's own online auction catalog. And this is a really interesting resource because if we go into the catalog, we can, let's say we wanted to look at foreign stamps and covers. We could go in here, we're looking at German offices in China. All of a sudden we have all this great information about what H.R. Harmer has in their lot. But not only do we have the information about these resources here, but we also have this really interactive tool in the form of a share button, where let's say I know my friend Bob really likes to collect this kind of stuff on this web page. Then I can go and share it directly with him on Facebook or on Twitter and on email. And these kinds of tools are really helping bridge philatelists together and to help make contacts in the philately world. So in addition to that, the Royal Philatelic Society, in partnership with the APRL and 27 other libraries around the world, have started creating something called the Global Philatelic Library. And this is a collection, as most of you probably know, of the card catalogs of 27 different philatelic libraries around the world. And this can be really useful because you can search through all of these catalogs in this one place on the Global Philatelic Library, so that you don't have to go to the APRL and then to the Royal Philatelic Society and then to another foundation just to find the same information. And what's really interesting about the Global Philatelic Library is that the Royal Philatelic Society has also digitized most of the materials in the Crawford Library. And so let's say we're looking for some information about stamps in Sierra Leone. So we've got two hits here. And what's really nice about this database with the digitized items in the Crawford Library is that you can actually view PDFs of those digitized documents without having to reach out to the library, without having to do any additional work on your part. And what's really nice about these PDFs also is that, let's say you're looking for specific postmarks, so we're going to search for postmarks in this PDF, no results. So I know I don't want to look anywhere. What's that? Ah. Right. We got a black screen now. Well, imagine a PDF is available on this TV right now, and it's a PDF of a journal from Sierra Leone and their postal issues, and I just searched for postmarks, and nothing came up, so I know I don't want to look through this document, and obviously the TV doesn't want to look through it either. So if the PowerPoint will come back, we'll go through that. If not, no worries. All right, so in addition to those resources, we also have a lot of social platforms already available online for philatelists. A lot of philatelists like to use Facebook, Twitter, and other online mediums to find each other and find resources from each other, get information about, say, like, I don't know anything about stamps. I'm new to stamp collecting and I want to get into it, then I would come to one of these resources. Or if I'm a specialized Philippines collector, I would come here if I had a question, right? And I could reach out to other folks. Other resource is made by YPLF alum, my friend Ian, and he created this online place called stampcollectingspot.com, which is basically an online interaction tool for philatelists to interact with one another and talk about upcoming stamp shows, talk about things that they're studying, those kinds of ideas. So we have all of these online philatelic tools available to us and in various places across the internet. But a lot of times we aren't able to find them, or we don't know that they even exist. So what if we could put it all together in one single place? Create the 28th library of the Global Philatelic Library, a completely online library. I tried to come up with a few acronyms for this. I ended up deciding on Postal, but I think it's really a work in progress here. But this is the potential of what an online library could look like for philatelic researchers, where we have one search bar that will go through all of these resources, including browsing online books and materials, if having a reference database of stamps around the world, similar to something like Per 48 or the Scott Online catalog, and having an online community where, let's say I can't find something in this database, then I can reach out to other folks, or I can reach out to a librarian at the APRL and sort of have an idea of where I want to go with the future of my research project. And sort of the way I see this having potential value is that, let's say I want to search online books and materials, and I'm searching, let's say I want to know about Amelia Earhart's only official airmail route, the CAM 27 route. Then I could go in here, I could type in Amelia Earhart, and then I have several different, I guess, entries pop up on the screen, where here it's going to show me everything about this Airmail Society newsletter, say it's digitized, and then it's also going, the database can search through and give me a tidbit of of what is available in that specific document itself, so that I don't even have to open the document. I can just take a look at the tidbit and say, all right, I want to look at this, or I don't want to look at this. I think another potential aspect of this online library could be a reference database, similar to Per 48 or the Scott catalog, where let's say I'm looking for my favorite stamp and I want to find information about it. All I have to do is search here. I would put in Sea Surface Global Temperatures. Bam, I've got an entry. I can take a look at a picture of the stamp. I can take a look at some of the information about the stamp, and then I can even see where it might be available for reference, including at the APRL. Now the last portion of this would be sort of an online community, which we already have in some places, but this would be a way, like I said earlier, to connect people to each other. Let's say there's a collector that collects Philippine stamps, and I collect Philippine stamps, but that person's all the way in California. Chances are I'm never going to meet that person without an online forum or without seeing them at a stamp show, and this is a really great way to connect people around the world. So, in conclusion, there are several advantages to digitizing documents and putting things online for philatelic researchers to have access around the world. And while there are a lot of obstacles to this idea, such as copyright issues or creating access to the content, creating the content, the digitization process is pretty arduous. But once we find a way to get over all of these obstacles, I think it's certainly feasible. And even if we don't put everything that's available in the philatelic world online, I think just 10%, 15% of philatelic information being available online is a lot better than having none of it. And I think that's been very useful in my research. I hope it's been useful in your research. And at the end of the day, I want to be clear that this is not a replacement for physical libraries. The APRL is still going to stay around, and the Postal Museum and all the other philatelic libraries around the world still play an integral role in the way that we do our research. But this is really meant as a supplement to help you be able to research on your own time, to not have to wait for business hours of the APRL to open, or not have to make a trip out to Bellefonte to view resources, not have to come here and spend all your time scanning, where you could be spending that time actually reading the physical documents. And I think a platform like this could be really useful to philatelic researchers around the world. And this is really why digital content, in addition to the physical content we already store, is essential to philatelic research. So thank you.